Okay, perfect. So now we are good to go to the next last two concepts that are left. The next one is called a consistency principle or consistency concept. I will call it number 9. I don't even remember the sequence now. Consistency. This is once again one of the simpler ones. Very simple. Or rather, let me tell you the next one first, and then I will tell you consistency, because I'll use this one to explain. I'll tell you the last one, which is called a materiality concept. Materiality concept. Now, what is materiality? Let me explain what does it say via an example. Let's say you have all understood the matching concept. Okay. And the business is, let's say, business of Tata Motors. Let us say Tata Motors as a business has purchased a stapler. Everybody understands a stapler? Okay. Let us say they have purchased, or why even a stapler? Staplers are, okay, let us understand a paperweight. Okay. A paperweight of rupees 50. Okay. They have purchased a paperweight by paying rupees 50. And the life of paperweight is, anybody can give me an estimate? How much is life of a paperweight?
More than life of the business.
Maybe if you don't throw it on the floor, more than life of the business for sure. Let's take some huge number, maybe let's say 20 years. Okay. Okay, so life of the asset is 20 years. What does matching concept say? How you would record this transaction?
Depreciate it every year, divide it into 20 parts, and
you will divide it into 20 parts and keep charging depreciation. Also, you will record on your let's say accounting equation, you will record one asset called paperweight, and you will keep on reducing it. What is 50 divided by 20? What is this value? Can somebody tell me?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5 rupees. Okay, now what is happening? The Tata Motor has a heading of paperweight. It started with 50 rupees and every year it is falling down by 2.5 rupees. And this will keep on happening for next 20 years. You see this? Now matching concept really great. You have all have understood matching concept really well. Good understanding of matching concept. Does something seem absurd about this? What is it? Matthew, batao, what is absurd about this?
For a company like Tata Motors to record 2.5 rupees every year depreciation on a paperweight is a little silly.
You see that significance wise, it looks really absurd. But conceptually, this is what you should do. Everybody understood the premise I'm trying to build here? That conceptually matching concept says that you have not used this paperweight entirely in the first year. You will keep on using the parts of it over the 20 years if its life is 20 years. So you should provide depreciation over 20-year period. Now the materiality is a concept which gives us a much needed breather from this kind of absurd accounting. This is what I call balki khal mat nikal lo. I have no clue about an English equivalent. Somebody can help me out. I'm still looking for an English equivalent idiom for that. कोई phrase है क्या इसका? Somebody please help me out. If you don't remember right now, you can put it in the group also, no problem at all. Because I have been really looking for it. I don't know how to convey this making mountain of a molehill. Okay, good. 5 marks to Gryffindor. Okay, good. Making mountain of a molehill. Basically, this one is a vice versa. That something is so tiny than molehill and maybe even a fraction of that. So the point is that you want to apply matching concept good, but sometimes you will see that it will go to absurd levels and you would want to see that it doesn't make sense. Why not simply just subtract entire 50 and get done with? That is what is provided to you by materiality concept. Materiality concept says that when you provide matching concept, it is basically an exception to matching concept. It says that when you are implementing the matching concept and the amount involved are not material, then you are given exemption from its implementation. Now the exact language will be somewhat different in the book, but that's what it actually means. For example, in this case, even though you know that Tata Motors will be using this paperweight for over 20 years, because the amount involved is small, don't bother providing depreciation on it. Just write off this entire thing in this year itself. So when you are showing the expenses, show this entire thing as an expense. Even though when you check all the assets of the Tata Motors at the end of the period, you will find one asset called paperweight. Physically, you can find one asset called paperweight, but in the financial statement, you don't need to record it. Now, let me make it very clear. It doesn't mean to say that you completely ignore the transaction. No, that's not what it is saying. Don't ignore the transaction altogether. Only it's saying that instead of breaking it into 20 parts, show the entire part as if it has been spent up in this year itself. It has been consumed completely in this year itself. That's what it says. Basically, it is only giving you a breather from matching concept. It doesn't tell you that completely ignore it. No, that's not what it is saying. Okay, so I'll repeat the materiality concept. Materiality concept says that when the amount involved of the transaction are not sizable enough to change the interpretation of the statements. For example, if you show that Tata Motor has 5,020 crore rupees of profit, versus if you show that Tata Motor has 5,020.00020 rupees crore, this much worth of profit. Now, is anybody's interpretation of Tata Motors as a business going to change if you show this number versus this number? If the answer is no, then we will say that the amount is not material, and then we are exempted from implementation of matching concept. That how do you know that how much is material, how much is not material?
There must have been some government guidelines.
Managerial discretion. If the government has a guideline, even government cannot give a guideline. For example, just imagine for a business like Tata Motors, the guideline would be different, and let us say you have a small kirana store. For them, the guideline should be different. Similarly, let us say you are only talking about, let's say, automobile manufacturers. Then somebody like, let us say, a very huge manufacturer, I don't know, Tata Motor is a big manufacturer, let's say Maruti Suzuki, versus let us say a small electric vehicle manufacturer, let us say, what is that, Urja Global. So the materiality for these two also will be different, right? So because there is a lot of subjectivity involved, that is why the guidelines, even though they might be there, you will see despite the guidelines, a lot of subjectivity will still remain. So guidelines are good to have. In different countries, you may end up seeing certain guidelines, but still, end of the day, you will find that materiality is very much a subject matter of managerial discretion. That where do you draw the cutoff? Is it clear? That it is going to be subjective. Only thing that you can do is that you can say that for us, let us say materiality is, let us say 1% of our this year's revenue. Or you can say materiality for us is anything which is more than $7. Or you can say materiality for us, the cutoff is going to be, let us say 0.5% of our total asset size. Anything, you can keep any cutoff as your materiality cutoff. If the asset purchased is smaller than this value, then what it says is that don't apply depreciation on this. No need to apply depreciation. Show the entire amount as an expense in this year itself. Okay. Now, before moving ahead and showing the example, I will also in the same flow explain to you what does the consistency concept means, because this is also one of the easiest one among all. Consistency simply means that whatever managerial discretion you have taken, apply this year after year in the same manner. For example, let us say in this year you have taken 1% revenue as cutoff for materiality. Then next year out of your convenience, don't change it to 1.2%. So this is what consistency means, that whatever discretion you have chosen, let us say you are talking about depreciation, and I told you that for depreciation there could have been many other methods. For example, so far we have just divided everything by n. That was one of the method. Let's call it method A. Let us say there is method B or method C. What consistency says is that if for a particular asset you have chosen method A, then for that asset, year after year, continue to adopt method A. Don't jump from one method to another unnecessarily. Now, obviously, you will all be able to see why this kind of a concept is needed. Can anybody think of what is the relevance of having such a concept? Anybody can go ahead. Yeah, Mayank, go ahead.
Maybe in a case when let's say if a tax evasion is they are planning for tax evasion. Firstly, they could say that only 1% was as a this, and when they are having greater profit, they can.
Okay, so he's saying that tax calculation can be done on a consistent basis. Okay, fine. That's not the main reason. I'll come to that why it is not. Main reason is something else. Why? Somebody else? Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead, Rishikesh.
So maybe they can fudge the numbers and fool the investors if they keep changing.
So how to prevent that? Okay, what is the flip side? Rupal, go ahead. You have something. Good.
So for comparison of statement
For
of
comparison, that is the main point. That if you keep jumping from one method to another method. Let us say today you are saying that you had a profit of 5,000 crore rupees, and next year you are saying that you have 5,800 crore rupees. Now, is this change because of your operational difference, or is it simply because you changed the method? If you have changed method, then we wouldn't know, right? That how much importance to give to this fact that profits have gone up. Now the numbers would be comparable only if you have adopted a concept called consistency concept. What does it say? It says that whatever place where you had to adopt a managerial discretion. Now on a given point of time, whatever discretion you took, in the next period, given the same situation, stick with the same treatment. Don't jump from method to method, assumption to assumption, or treatment to treatment. Now, before we move ahead, it's very important for me to give it that this doesn't mean to say that there is a blanket ban. That once you have adopted, let's say, depreciation method, once you have adopted method A, let us say later on you realize that no, method A is a horrible method. It only makes sense that if method B is good, now we are stuck. No, consistency doesn't mean that there is a blanket ban, that once you have taken a decision, you cannot change. Then what is the point of having consistency? This is the point. The consistency says that in general, the default status should be that you should not change the decision that you had taken in past. For example, let us say last year I had taken the materiality cutoff to be $7. Now in this year, automatically I cannot go ahead and change it, but it doesn't mean also to say that now I'm stuck with $7 throughout the life of the business. I can change it. Only thing is that consistency says that if you are changing, then give proper disclosure. Let us say I'm changing it to $11. Then I need to inform to the users that I have done the changes, why I have done the changes, and what is the impact of this change. So consistency means that ideally you should not change. If you have changed, then explain it to the users, all these disclosures. Give disclosure basically. What do you disclose? One thing is that first of all, you need to say that last year the numbers were based on this method. This year it has been changed. That's point number one. Point number two, that is what you should explain to them is that what was the need? Why was it needed to be changed? And point number three is that inform to them that what impact did it bring. That earlier, if let us say this profit was using a different method, now let us say you are also informing that if we would have created the profit using the previous year's method itself, the profit would have been $5,600, 600 crore rupees. Whatever. So basically you are also showing the impact. Now consistency, let me repeat it. What are we talking about? Consistency says that by default, do not jump from method to method. If there is any change, then give appropriate disclosure. Now, this disclosure, unfortunately, will also vary from country to country. Some country will only say that, okay, inform this, but only inform it to the auditors. Some country will say that, okay, it is auditors' responsibility to make sure that these are correct. Some countries will say that, okay, only inform that a change has happened. Some countries will say that, okay, inform the change has happened and why it has happened. Some countries in some incidences may require all these three. So how much actually is happening in practice is dependent upon rules and regulations. But conceptually speaking, this is what you should do. So the ideal situation is that this is what you should do. You should tell them that change has happened, why was it needed, and what impact did it make. Now let us take an example of materiality in our Music Mart. Let us say for Music Mart, the materiality cutoff is, let's say, $7. $7. Okay. Now it is said that Music Mart purchases a stapler for $10, and the life of this stapler is 10 years. Is the example clear? That the cutoff limit for Music Mart for materiality is $7. Music Mart has purchased an asset called stapler for $10, and it is going to serve for 10 years. Now, what should you do? Should you charge first of all, is this example material or immaterial amount? Is it a material amount or immaterial amount? Yeah, Vipin, go ahead.
Sir, it is immaterial amount. First, we will make it to $7, and then after that, we will neglect it after that year.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other opinion? Let's hear it from Mridul. Go ahead.
So maybe we can just change the criteria of materiality.
Okay, so because it seems that this is not big amount, so change the criteria itself. Just now I said that consistency, don't change it. To suit your treatment, don't change the cutoffs. Cutoffs are decided first, then the transaction comes.
Weapons
Okay.
answer looks good there.
Then the
Weapons answer is good. Then we depreciate it till the time it becomes 7. Maybe then we can.
but the depreciation is only going to be $1 every year, right?
Yeah. So maybe after the 3rd year we can consider it to be immaterial.
No. Okay, good. This is a perfect example. Basically, this is what we will do. When we say materiality, now the obvious question should be as follows. So 2 points have already been mentioned. Do we compare or apply the materiality cutoff to the depreciated amount or to the full amount? The answer should be to the full amount, because if you are considering that amount is immaterial, then depreciation is always a broken up piece. So don't apply the cutoff to the broken up piece. Apply it to the full amount. So full amount is material. So in this case, it is material. So we will have to create a new heading called stapler as an asset. And we will write 10 and we will keep on subtracting $1 every year. Up till here, it is clear that this one, if our cutoff was $7, this one was not qualified to be called as an immaterial amount. Why not? Even though because the depreciation was small, we will not give any consideration to this, because depreciation is what happens after you have considered it as a material amount, right? So apply the materiality cutoff to the amount of the asset itself. Case 2, let us say this time they purchase another asset called, let's say, a paperweight, and that paperweight is purchased for $2 and its life is, let's say, 4 years. I'm just trying to keep the number simpler. Now what you would do? Now the matching concept would have said that create a new heading called paperweight and write $2 here and keep on subtracting 0.5 every year, right? This is what matching concept would have said. Because we have materiality, now we don't need to do it any longer. Straight away we will subtract the entire $2 here in the retained earning column, in the retained earnings. We will subtract the entire $2 as an expense in this year itself, and we will subtract the entire $2 as a cash reduction, assuming it has been paid up for in cash. Is the treatment clear? That how would materiality impact? That instead of subtracting 2 here, Otherwise, we would have subtracted 2 here and this 2 would not have come here. Instead of this 2, if it was not a material, if it was a material amount, we would have created a new heading called paperweight and we would have added an asset value of 2. And we would have provided a depreciation of 0.5 here and 0.5 here. Because we have materiality concept, there is no need to do this. Straight away, we will completely avoid recording this column called paperweight. That is not needed any longer. Straight away, we will charge the entire $2 to the owner's equity in retained earning. In acknowledgement of what? In acknowledgement of the fact that entire amount of $2 has been consumed. Even though if physically talking about it, it has not been consumed. Because the amount was so small, we are assuming it is as good as consumed. This is what you should do. Basically, materiality gives you a breather from doing this subtraction of depreciation of a very minuscule amount, which is going to be anyway of no meaningful consequence over n number of years. Then it is going to give you a breather from that. How does it give you a breather? That show the entire amount as an expense in this year itself. That's what is the materiality concept. Yeah, Mayank, go ahead.
So just to clarify on a bit different thing, let's say on a business we are having a bulk consumption, let's say Xerox papers maybe, which are costing to us probably $10 or $15 on a monthly basis. So that would be directly subtracted from the cash and from retained earnings, or some different treatment would be required for this.
Okay. I'm not sure. I'll try to rephrase your question. Let me know if that is what you are asking. Let us say what he is asking, at least what I think he is asking is, let's say one asset is minuscule. Let's say $2 worth of paperweight is minuscule. But you are purchasing, let's say 10 of those paperweights. So suddenly 2 into 10, if you treat them as a combination of assets, then it becomes significant. But if you look at them individually, it is insignificant. Then how do you deal with it? Is that what you are asking?
Yes, sir. And additionally, this is for the long-term asset.
Additionally, we'll tell you later. So is everybody understanding the question? What he's asking is that, let us say the business purchases 10 paperweights and now that $20 is not insignificant, then what do you do? The answer to that is that whichever way you are recording, if you are recording them in bulk, then apply the materiality concept to bulk. If you have a practice of recording them individually, then apply the matching concept to the individual asset. So it may be very well be possible that individually looking at any asset, it was not material, but you have a practice of recording them combined. Let us say you have a business of what I can imagine. Let's say you have a lawyer's office. Now for lawyer's office, you are purchasing all these stationeries, but you purchase them in bulk. So you want to record them also in bulk. So for that, you would want to apply the materiality cutoff to the bulk amount, not to the individual amount. Okay. Okay. Now go on to your follow-up question.
No, sir, it's cleared.
Okay, perfect. So this is where we will start, and this formally ends our stage number A. So stage A in the course is completed today. That is overview of the course and basic concepts are done. Now tomorrow or whenever we meet next, we will move to step B of formally preparing the financial statements. We will see that argumentatively we have all the logics that we need to do that, and this thing should be a much smoother ride. Okay, see you all in the next class.